Mic check 1 2 1 2. All right. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite things, which is automation. All right. Let me get a little closer. All right. So as you know, I talk a lot about building cleaning business or home service business that can run without you. Right. I've even shared this thing called SEED, which is systematize, eliminate, automate, and delegate. And I also spend a lot of time talking about VAs, hiring team members and how to train them and creating systems for them, etc. But the last step of that seed is delegation, which is hiring. But before that, the step right before is automation. And so even before you bring somebody on, my recommendation is always try to see what are some of the things you can automate in the business before you actually get somebody else to do it. And so in today's video, I want to talk about 5 things that I'm automating in my cleaning business and share some ideas that you can potentially use to automate on your end. So what you're looking at on the screen here, let me make myself a little smaller, right? And this is nothing new. I've shared this before. This is our customer acquisition flowchart that basically breaks down the various steps and stages that we go through when we are acquiring our customers, right? Lead comes in, etc. So I'm going to talk about 5 things I'm doing specifically from a sales and marketing standpoint to automate the sales and marketing part of the business. All right. So the first one is actually automatically sending text messages and sending quotes. So as you can see, the first step is once a new lead comes in, the first thing we do is we actually qualify those leads, right? And so that comes from, we actually used to do phone calls, but we actually do that via text only now. And so how we do that is I'm going to go to my OpenPhone. I have it open with my name and phone number. And, so as you can see, this is some samples that I'm testing out, but ultimately every client gets one of these. Basically, hi name, welcome to the company, for your this and that is going to be that, right? And so one of the things that you're going to quickly see, and you can kind of see it here, is the way we qualify our leads. I'm going to let that load up for a second. The way we qualify our leads is actually by initially starting with the pricing, which I know is unpopular opinion and et cetera. But we actually start by telling them what our pricing is. Because generally they're already getting an idea of who we are based on our marketing, based on our messaging. So the whole value thing, they've already gotten a sense of it. And now I'm making sure they're a good fit price-wise before we even proceed. This is not what they end up spending at the end of the day, because there are a few other add-ons that ends up contributing to the price. But just in general, we do start our qualifying process with that, right? So we have the script. This is the systems part of things, right? We have them, but most of those things are done automated. So I want to show you how I actually get that done. So what happens is once somebody goes to our site, they fill out our form. Let me see if it'll pop up now, because sometimes it wants to act up. Yeah. So they fill this out. They go through blah, 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 put their information. Once they do that, this information actually is sent to our Airtable, which is right here. Yep. This gets sent to our Airtable, just as just regular data. And then it records all the things that we asked them in that form. So zip code, all right, the name, all this stuff, right? So think of all these answers, right? Whatever, the name and info. I'm not going to do that, obviously. But once they do that, they come here. And what happens is it records the square foot, the bed, the whatever. And then I have this thing here, right, that ultimately, if I go to edit, it's a formula that ultimately just does the math based on a base number, price per bedroom, price per bathroom, etc. So this is one of the benefits of having your price systematized, so that way you can do things like this. If your pricing is based on vibes, like I just feel like this person will pay more, so I'm going to charge them that, that's also going to be a factor that makes it hard for you to scale or have other people do it, because they may not have the same hunches or whatever as you, right? So anyways, so once that's created, then now this information exists where there's another formula that helps the standard determine the deep, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever. And then from there now, this is where something like Zapier comes in. And so based on this, once they get added to Airtable, right, we do some stuff here. Again, this is not, it's not easy, right? It's also not simple. But it ends up being simple, but it's definitely a lot of manual, work here and there. But anyways, so on this is Zapier, but Make can do this as well. Based on what they selected as what they're looking for, whether it's a standard clean, a deep clean, a recurring, or whatever, they get a message that corresponds to it. So if it's, for example, a deep clean, it'll say something like, hey, name, this name from this company for your 1-bedroom, 2-bath, whatever, right? So that's the first thing. We automatically send a text message, and we also automatically send a quote. So that is the first one. This is the process to do that, right? The second thing we do is, let me just look at my little list. We also automatically update the status of some of the leads. Now, going back to this thing here, right? as you can see, you have, so this is the last, I think this is the last few leads we've gotten, right? So 916, that's today. We've had 2 today, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 yesterday. Out of yesterday's 8, let's do some math, right? So out of yesterday's 8, we have 3 bookings. 3 did not reply. That's NR1. 1 that responded that, FU7 is like, we're going to follow up in 7 days. 1 responded, said they're not interested. So this is yesterday, right? And then if we look at today, 1 says FU7, 1 says talking to. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because these are our lead status, right? Oftentimes we have tools, we have CRM tools that we use, but we don't really keep these lead statuses updated as much as we can, right? And there are many reasons for that, but the main one is you're busy running a business and sometimes you forget to. And even if you have salespeople, they may be cool with getting on the phone, etc., but they still end up forgetting to update the lead status. So one of the things I try to do is automate as much of the lead status updating as possible. So with that said, the next thing, so number 2 that we automate is trying to automate the lead status. So for example, as soon as somebody books, there is on Airtable, there's an automation that says, once somebody's booked on BookingKoala, look them up, make sure that they're, and if they are there, find them here and then change their status to book. So these are all the different statuses we have, right? Change their status to book. So that's done automatically. Now this individual here, oops, there's a call coming in the background. All right. So this individual here who says talking to, this is not something that my team went and updated, right? Based on, and if you want, you can look into this. I had this automation that I set up where I push all my text messages from OpenPhone to my CRM, which in this case is Airtable that I'm using. But based on this, right, as long as the system sense, so if I go to this person's profile, I'm just going to scroll to the right a little bit. As long as the system sense that there's a conversation that happened right here, as you can see here, this is us. This is our messaging to the gentleman. But this was his response, which is too high, right? And so now they're going through. So let's go back, right? Let's go here. Where we at? Is it here? Yeah, right? So customer response. The answer is yes, responded. So now they're talking to him, trying to see if this is something worth saving, or if not, do we just mark him as not interested? So he's like in the middle of this process right here, right? So what was that before I was here? But as we can see, there has been outgoing messages, but until there's an incoming message, like this person here, there's only outgoing, only outgoing, only outgoing. As soon as an incoming comes, then I have this check mark comes here. Once that check mark comes, then now this person is considered responded. And then that's what determines that this person's status is now changed to talking to, as opposed to inquiry, which is the original state that most people are in when they first come in here before anything changes, right? Another one is if we send them, if a 24 hours has passed and they don't have anything here, like there's nothing that shows up here, that means the text message we sent them didn't deliver, which then means this is probably a house phone. So the status changes to call, which is this right here. So there's a lot, not every single one, but there's a lot of stuff here that changes by itself automatically. And what it does is just keeps our thing updated without us having to manually do it. Just based on the action we're taking, it helps keep us updated. Now, things are also NR1, NR2, etc. So if you look at NR1, if the lead came in 24 hours ago, but they did not have an incoming, basically means they didn't respond, it's going to change them to NR1. And then if it's been 3 days or something like that, and they still didn't respond, it's going to change in their NR1. It's going to change to NR2. Again, this could be a little complicated, so don't get lost. But these NR1, NR2, NR3 are what we end up using to determine once they're at NR1, we're going to send them this follow-up message, that follow-up message, right? So, but just the second thing that I automate is I automate the status changes that happens automatically based on actions that my team is taking before we're actually actively changing. You know, what we do change manually is like if somebody's interested, we manually change that. If somebody's not interested, we manually change that. And this is going to bring me to my third thing, which is how we change that is actually right here on OpenPhone. So I'm going to go back here again. I'm not going to spend too much time focus on this, but basically we've set it up so that whenever we change the status up here, so you know how just OpenPhone has tags. If I change this Jacques individual to, let me actually, I'm going to test it out in front of you guys. So this is 14 days. This is what somebody would change to say we got to follow up with this person in 14 days, right? I'm going to change Jacques now to interested. I'm going to remove 14 days. I'm going to bring it to interested. If it works like it's supposed to, because sometimes technology don't be working. I'm gonna go here to so the same Airtable data you see now, there's a interface view where you can actually look at the data, right? So as you can see where it says hot leads here, we have this thing that's showing us all the leads we need to follow up with. In the hot leads, there's a new entry here, which is the Jacques individual, right? And the only reason he's here is because I just changed him to interested. But if I were to go back here again and I say, I change it to not interested. Let me get out. Let me try to go before it changes. Go. So as you can see, it just snapped out. It just left. So the third thing that I automate is essentially, instead of having to go from, say, OpenPhone, which is where we used to communicate, instead of having to go from there to the CRM that we actually use, in your case, it could be Go High Level, or it could be HubSpot, it could be whatever. We make it so that by changing it on OpenPhone, it automatically changes it on the respective platform. So in this case now, if we're talking to somebody, and which is just mean that it happened yet, the gentleman earlier that says too pricey, there's a script that we try to use to say, well, blah, 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 let's try to see if we can close them. If not, then the team said, okay, thank you for your time, have a great day. And then what ends up happening is they will mark this individual as not interested. And as soon as that happens, then this is what happens, right? So we mark them as not interested. They just get added to our email list, where they get 2 emails a month anyway. And if they change their mind in the future, they do. If they don't, they don't, right? But that's what happens and now if the lead is not responsive, right? They're not responsive, then the next thing we do is we follow up with them. Now, I'll share with you how that's set up. I kind of touched on it a little bit, but that's going to be the 5th thing that I talk about that I automate. So just to recap, the first one is we send a text quote automatically. And so that's the first one. The second one is we automatically change status updates, right? From talking to inquiry, whatever, to NR1. The third thing is we automatically change status based on OpenPhone tags. So by changing it there, it automatically goes and sends it over there, so we don't have to go to that platform. So while we're talking to the customer, we can make changes that's going to go there. And again, some tools have text messages built into them already, so they may not necessarily need this. But for us who use 2 different tools, that's how we were able to get it to communicate with each other. The 4th thing, before I go to the 5th thing, again, the 5th thing is going to be automatic text messages. The 4th thing that I automate, which I think is kind of cool, nobody really cares about it, but I think it's cool, is we actually automate sending quotes to clients in a way. It's not really fully automated, but we just decrease the time that it takes. Let me show you an example. Now, I got to log into BookingKoala because I don't think I've been logged on. I may be logged. I don't think, do I have it? No, I don't have a tab open, so I'm probably not logged on. Let's see. We're going to go here. So let's see. Let me make, you know what? Let me do this with the Jacques person. Let me make this person back to interested because I just need to find that contact. So let's go here. Hopefully it shows up. There you go. So I'm going to make a few changes to this person's profile for a second before I do this. So interested, what I want to change is so this person has a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 1,500 square foot home. They're looking for what kind of clean? Deep clean. Okay, deep clean. All right. So we have everything we need. There's a button that I have here called Get Quote. And this right here, it's a little complicated to even explain how to set that up. So you'd have to hit me up if you want to know how I do it. But I share the code as I do with everything. So let me know. But anyways, let's say I'm talking to somebody, right? So it goes back to here. So we're talking to somebody. They respond and they're interested. Maybe they have a few issues. We negotiate, we discount, we do whatever. Then they say, yeah, I'm ready to move forward. Then the next thing we do is we generate a booking form. So that process is we go to BK and click add booking, put the information, and then we click send quote, and then we actually send it to them via text. They book, everybody's happy. Now, again, this automation here doesn't save us hours. It probably saves us like minutes, right? But it does improve the flow of how we do quotes and also avoids having to go from screen to screen. Because in this case, our lead information is here. So I'm basically flipping between, all right, what's his name? Copy, go to BK, add, copy, right? And so with this button here, what it does, it'll be funny if it doesn't work right now. So I'm gonna click this and hopefully I'm logged on. Yeah, I am logged in. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, it takes me to this view here. So nothing happened. Nothing's filled out. Everything's the same. So a couple of things. So I'll go here and I click BK fill. And then now it actually fills it up with all the information of this individual. So we got the zip code of the person that came from the little thingy. We got the name. We got the first name. Why is it saying that now? Don't be showing up, man. People are watching. Okay. We got the email. I don't know why it's doing it like that. Anyways. Oh, whatever. This is probably why. Email already exists. So, but if this is a new person, it has the contact information there already. So then you may say, Jacques, well, why didn't it change the standard and all that kind of stuff? Yeah. Okay. You're right. It ain't changed those. However, based on how that code is written, it does do something just as good. Right in the URL up here, as you can see, where it says display 43-1500 deep. Now I know quickly, if I need to give somebody a quote fast, I press that button, it automatically gives me the name, and then I come here and see, oh, this is a deep clean. Boom. I click deep, right? Where is it at? And I see how many, 4 bedroom. Got it. Boom. All right. 3 bathroom. Okay, perfect. Great. And then 1,500 square foot. Done. Save as quote, and we're good to go. So again, this is not going to save you hours per day. You know what I'm saying? This is like if you're sending 3 quotes a day, this is going to take the quote process from maybe 5 minutes each to maybe, I don't know, 20 seconds each. So just a little. But here's what it's going to do. It helps you avoid mistakes. Because now the name is coming as it's written in your CRM. Now, if it's wrong there, then it's wrong there. But now you don't have to go, all right, I got to copy this. And then I'm going to go over. I'm going to paste it. Then I'm going to make sure. And then I'm going to write. Like, you don't have to do that, right? You can just press that button and it brings the information over and then you can leave the quote. And the last thing, which I kind of hinted at before, but is I've made a whole video about this one, is I also automatically send follow-up. So if the lead comes in, they did not respond, unresponsive, they become an unresponsive lead, and we send them these various messages, which can be found. If I can, let me just click it. I don't know, I'm going for it like I don't have it right here. So these are the different messages we send, right? If it's been 24 hours, they get this message. If it's been 48, they get this message. If they've been 4 days, they get this message, right? So this is the message they get. I have them, they exist, but this is all automated. So no one actually has to touch this physically, right? And as soon as they respond based on all these automations, then they come back here and then their response determines if they're interested, then they move forward. If they're not interested, then they go away. But anyways, how we do that is every, back to what I showed earlier, right? This individual, we send them messages, and after a certain time, the status change. And this is like internal automation. I'm not even going to open this, and I did. But this is a lot of all the automation within Airtable itself, right? Again, this is real technical. So if you're still watching, bless you. So anywho, but what happens is, let me go back to where I was. So what happens is, if it's been 24 hours since the created date of the lead, right? And their status is considered inquiry, and they don't have any incoming messages here, is going to mark them as still unresponsive and is going to make them called NR1. Then if they are NR1 and it's been, say, 3 days, this is what the automation looks like in here, by the way. If they're NR1 and it's been 3 days and they still haven't, let me not even talk about it. Let me just show it to y'all. Save somewhere. Right here. No, that's the webhook. Postcard. Auto follow-up. There you go. Boom. So this is it, right? If they're NR1, right? If they're NR1, it's been 48 hours. Like, you can see the stuff here. There you go. If it's been 48 hours and they're NR1 and it's not responded and the chat does not contain any message, then we're going to call them as NR2. Then it turns them to NR2. Like, the action that it does, it brings them to NR2. And as soon as they become NR2, then this is where, like, this stuff comes in, right? As soon as they become NR2, then on Airtable, right, then they start getting messages like, hey, new record in NR2. Then it's like, if it's between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., don't send them messages overnight. Wait a couple, there's some stuff like that. But ultimately, they get the follow-up message that we put, hey, just so you know, all blah, 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 whatever, right? So that's how we do that. So those are the 5 things that I automate in the business. Hopefully give you some ideas. Appreciate your time. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. Peace.